Welcome everyone to Football No Filter. I am your host Bruno Crack. I'm with my co-host Jorginho. Jorginho, you're smiling from ear to ear. Another week, another win. 3-0.
Two wins. Two wins.
Two wins. Okay, how are you today?
Doing well, and you?
I'm all right. And we got o Stephanopoulos. Stephanopoulos, como é que andas?
Pá, estou bem, estou bem.
Estás bem descansado? Não jogaste hoje? Jogaste ontem? Já estás mais fresco para este fim de semana?
Como o Mourinho diz, é o nosso Champions League.
Okay, so this is how round 5 went. Tondela 1, Portimonense 0, Nacional 1, Passos de Ferreira 1, Santa Clara 1, Sporting 2, Porto 1, Gil Vicente 0, Farense 0, Rio Ave 1, Moreirense 2, Marítimo 1, Famalicão and Boa Vista 2-2. What a game. Boa Vista with the lead and they blow it in the end. Guimarães 0, Braga 1. I think someone just got red carded again in that game.
What was the game? Which game?
Guimarães and Braga. I think someone just got red carded again. And Benfica 2, Belenenses 0. No surprise there, right, Steph?
No.
Table. Benfica 15, Sporting 13, Porto 10, Braga 9, Moreirense 8, Santa Clara and Guimarães 7, Rio Ave, Famalicão, Nacional, Marítimo, and Marítimo 6, Gil Vicente, Tondela, Passos Ferreira and Belenenses 5, Portimonense 4, Boa Vista 3, and Farense lonely at 1 point. Looking at the schedule for this past week, Georgie, anything special that stood out to you from these other clubs outside the big three?
Not really. I mean, I just, to be honest with you, I didn't really catch any other games than the Benfica game. But no, not really. Well, obviously, I'm sorry. Obviously, the Braga Guimarães game, that was the big game of the week, the derby. So, red card, another red card.
Yeah, another red card. There's another red card. Steph, same question. Any game that you saw or caught your attention from outside the big three?
Yeah, I mean, Rio Ave going to Farense to all the way to Algarve and winning 1-0 away. That's a big win. Farense played well enough to actually tie the game. I saw the highlights, and that goal not being allowed, I don't get it. The foul is after the goal, but which I'm questioning the VAR now. Why the fuck do we have the VAR in Portugal if they're not utilizing it the proper way? Besides that, the Braga Guimarães, like George said, that was surprising as well. It's a derby, so
it was a good game.
Yeah, Guimarães did enough to at least tie the game, but if you don't put the ball away, that's what happens.
Agreed. The table down at the bottom is looking a little tight. I mean, Belenenses right now at 5 points. They're right ahead of Portimonense. Boa Vista still struggling with 3 points. They had to win again at Famalicão, 2-0 lead, and they blow it 2-2 right at the end. Passos Ferreira, who's starting to show some life. I think they won their first game this past week. No, sorry, they tied against Nacional away. That was the week before. Marítimo has been on a free fall ever since they won at the Estádio do Dragão. Again, letdown game. And I think their slide is going to continue. Again, I don't think that their team is that much of a quality. Rio Ave is starting to get things going. Guimarães is Guimarães. They're going to outplay teams, but they just don't have a goal scorer. And I think that was one of the reasons why Thiago left the head coaching position, because he wanted a specific striker. I believe it was Slimani, right? That's and they didn't give it to him, and after that he said, "Well, I'm leaving." And now you're starting to see it. They don't have anybody to score goals. It's going to be a struggle if they can't, because they play very good soccer. I will say that they play very good soccer. Braga's starting to get things going for themselves as well. Moreirense is the surprise team. Any of you guys have been catching that team?
Well,
Not really, no. I haven't watched
Yeah,
them.
they're in 5th place.
I haven't watched them.
Yeah, but I mean, apart from the highlights, that's all I've seen. I haven't seen the full game.
I haven't seen a full game either, but their results are pretty good. They're not terrible at all, and being in 5th place is not bad. Santa Clara, obviously, Santa Clara at home is very difficult. When they're away, that's when it gets a little complicated for them. All right, we're gonna move ahead. We're gonna go to the Sporting at Santa Clara. Sporting wins 2-1. It wasn't easy, was it, Steph?
No, not at all. It was a very difficult game, like we were expecting it at San Miguel. San Miguel, and we did dominate for most part of the game. We began the game quite strong, and then towards the 15th, 16th minute, Santa Clara kind of balanced out the game, and then we regained again the possession of the game until the halftime, and then the second half, Santa Clara scored, and things looked really ugly for Sporting. We couldn't get it together. It was not one of our best performances, but we were able to flip the score, and then Port scored the 1-0. They tied, and then Port again scored again. Great game by Port. So with all that said, Sporting did deserve. We did dominate Santa Clara. I don't remember a lot of chances of goal, exception for that big mistake by Coates. We kind of gave that goal to Thiago Santana, which is a great striker. And then Adan, he came out of the post in a kind of a childish way. And Santana is pretty good. Ele foi à volta dele, marcou um gol com uma facilidade do caraco. But besides that play, Santa Clara, I didn't see a lot of dangerous plays. They had some kind of dangerous crosses, but I didn't feel. I did watch the game. I didn't feel at no time that Santa Clara was a dangerous team to overcome Sporting. With all that said, and to wrap it up, I still think we need a striker. Mourinho was set on getting Paulinho. We didn't get him. But, I don't think Giovanni, he's kind of lost in in the middle of an island all by himself inside the box. He's not really a striker. No número 9 falso. He's more of a winger. So he's adapting to that position. You can see that Giovanni, he struggles. Ele não gosta de jogar com as costas para trás. And he struggles. He doesn't have a first good touch. Every time they pass him the ball, his first touch is horrible. He always loses the ball, and then the opponents, they quickly get the ball away from him. So let's see if this adaptation by Ruben Amorim works out. But so far, I haven't seen good results. He doesn't like Sporad because Sporad is more of a strike inside the box, and that's not Ruben Amorim's style. Ele joga mais vertical, o Sporad. And for this kind of game, then Amorim wants 3 fast players, and that's why he doesn't fit that criteria. But he's beneficial when like a game like Santa Clara, or we'll talk about Vicente, when we stuck and we can get goals going, then Sporad comes in and he changes the tactic of the game, and then that's when he comes helpful, like he was against Gil Vicente and Santa Clara too. And that's it.
All right, George. Anything on the? By the way, real quick, since I got you on, Steph, before George goes, Do you believe that Sporad should start more? Yes or no?
He's going to be a bench player because he's a striker, 100% striker. He's a guy inside the box, and the type of tactic that Bruno Amorim, Ruben Amorim plays, the 3-4-3, he doesn't fit in that tactic. But when he's needed, when we in a locked horns with horns like the Santa Clara game it was, then if Giovanni's not doing what he's supposed to, that's when he'll be subbed, and that's when they'll cross more the balls into the box for Sporad, and that's when he'll come in to unlock a clusterfuck. And I don't think he'll start. No, I don't think so. I think he'll be the first substitution when we're struggling in the second half.
Okay, George. Any feedback on this game that you wanna say?
No, I mean it was a good game. I mean, Sporting. I think Sporting controlled the game. If you look at the possession, if you look at shots, that it was all controlled by Sporting. The only thing I gotta say is, listen, especially in with the Gil Vicente game, very very young team. That's surprising me positively. I know it's only 5 games. I know it's only 5 games and stuff like that, but they already played a couple of tough games. They already, with the Gil Vicente game, they were losing. They came back and won the game. So without a striker, right, playing in a difficult tactical formation, especially with young kids. So it's they're surprising me. See what happens, a little bit towards Christmas, and what scores they're able to come up with. But so far so good. Been good results.
Just to give you a quick snapshot of the, I won't take too long about the stats. So goals was 2-1, of course. Possession of ball was 65% to Sporting and 34 to Santa Clara. Remats, shots taken 18 to Sporting, 5 to Santa Clara. Remats à baliza 3 to Sporting, 2 to Santa Clara, and then corner kicks 9-1. That's it.
Listen, I mean, it was a very important win for Sporting. I mean, they were struggling a little bit. Santa Clara at home is very difficult. Seems like the winds there are different versus any other stadium in Portugal.
The pitch was very heavy because of all the rain.
Heavy. Yeah. Yes.
Especially the second half. Yeah.
They get a substantial amount of rain, and it definitely affects how you can play soccer. So it is much different. So but a win at Açores is never easy. There's going to be a lot of teams that are going to drop points there. So at the end of the day, 3 points, that's all that matters. Doesn't matter if you play good or not. All that matters is the 3 points. Anything else that you guys want to add?
No.
That's it.
So we had the next game was Porto versus Gil Vicente. Porto lined up with Marchesín in goal, Manafá, Mavimba, Pep, and Zaidu. Corona, Uribe, and Fabio Vieira were it was Uribe, Nakajima, and Vieira, the midfielders. And there was Tony Martinez with Ivan Nilsson and Corona up top. For Gil Vicente, it was Dennis, Pereira, Rodrigão, Afonso, Talocha, Lino, Lorenzi, Gonçalves, and Fernandes in the midfield, Lotte and Igor up top. I don't think this is actually correct, but this lineup for Gil Vicente. But basically, it was one of these games where first 20 minutes, Porto didn't look great. We struggled moving the ball. We couldn't really. We struggled with adapting to their 3 center back formation. I don't understand why Manafá was in the starting lineup. I don't understand why Manafá was a winger. He was actually started as a winger, as a left winger. Once the 20-minute mark hit and Corona was switched with Manafá, Manafá plays right back. Corona plays left winger. Everything changed drastically. Porto became very dynamic. Quickly, Corona on his side won a couple of corners, had a couple of crosses, resulted in it was Tony Martinez. He forced Dennis to make a big save. Ivan Nilsson hit the crossbar twice, and then eventually Nakajima was able to score to assist on Ivan Nilsson. Ivan Nilsson, I think, is going to be a special striker. He's very good. The way he moves, he creates a lot of space for himself. He seems like he finishes with ease. A lot of guys last year would have missed that goal that he finished. He's definitely a totally different player. As for the midfield, I have to say that Fabio Vieira, without question, brings quality in terms of passes. His penetrating passes are above average. He's very consistent with his passes. He looks to circulate the ball very well. You actually can hear Sergio Conceição saying, "Puxa pela equipa, Fábio, puxa," and you could tell he does exactly that. Second half came and it was an avalanche of offense by Porto. It was just a finishing issue, and we could have won this game by 5, 6, 7 goals if needed. If we converted all the chances, another PK missed. I didn't agree with Uribe being the PK taker. You have two specialists on the field, Ivan Nilsson and Fabio Vieira. Take your pick. You have Sergio Oliveira on the bench. Eventually, he came in. Things got complicated when Zaidu got red carded. Gilvison started pressing, and it's really interesting that this week we didn't hear anybody complain about the time, the added time this week. It was very interesting that no one complained about what happened with the PK being retaken. There's people in the box, and I said it when it was the Benfica Farense game. The officiating in Portugal, they opened up an exception to the rule, and you when you want to start forcing teams to retake penalties because there's people in the box, you got to do it all the time now. It's got to be consistent. Wasn't consistent this week. What happened with the time? All of a sudden, the referee said he gave 7 minutes, and we played 9. No one's complaining about it, though. I don't understand what happened. Where's everybody up in arms now? Why wasn't people complaining about that there was 9 minutes played and you only gave 7? I'm curious to hear what the pundits have to say. I mean, they have a lot to say about when it's in favor of Porto and all the time wasting. Now there wasn't any time wasting. There wasn't people in the box, or there was people in the box, but we don't have to retake penalties. So I want to hear what people have to say about that. George, you want to start?
I mean, I really didn't watch the game. I just watched the highlights. To me, it was surprising that it was just a 1-0 game. I thought Porto would easily win this game. But it looks like the team is still trying to figure things out. Sergio Conceição is still trying to with the number of changes that the plantel had, he's still trying to
he rotated a lot of guys.
Trying to find the best 11 and still trying to
I don't think it was finding an 11. I think it was more rotating players based on the short amount of space of games between days. So he had the Champions League on Tuesday, and he was playing a game on Saturday, and he just finished the game on Wednesday. So it was more like just rotating guys out. And I mean, let's be honest. If the Porto bench can't beat this Gil Vicente team, then maybe they shouldn't be on.
Well, exactly. Well, that's exactly it. But but other than that, I mean, look, I don't have to complain for you if you think something didn't take place,
I
right?
mean, I'm
You're the one
George.
that
I'm
has to
looking at the
complain.
comments. I don't read anybody complaining. Where are all these people that are complaining about the time and the penalties and sick and sick? Where are they? I don't see them. No tô
It's
vendo.
because usually when that happens, when we as Benfica we complain, it's because we lose the games. You get these things, but you won the game, so
What happens when we're losing?
it doesn't negatively impact you. The thing is, other teams usually when it happens to them, it negatively impacts them in the points and in the standings. So it also depends on that.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I don't know if I said this last week or not, but I'll bring it up. It was the game it was Sporting versus Porto. 3 minutes were given. There was 10 substitutions made. There was a lot of stoppages. I believe the one with Nunes and Corona, that collision, there was 2 minutes that were not played. 2 minutes plus the 10 substitutions. And the Padre Pinheiro decided to call the game when Porto's circulating the ball in front of the box of Sporting. And I don't understand how you just give 3 minutes. I see Vitor Wing is over here saying each game is different. Each game is different depending on who's officiating, right? Depends on who's winning, who's losing, and all that other stuff. So I don't buy it. I want to see consistency across the board, and I don't see it. Steph, you want to take yours away?
Yeah, of course. So what I saw was a Julie Sin playing interested in getting at least 1 point. So they parked the bus, and they were actually defensively they were pretty okay. Like Bruno said, Porto did miss a lot of chances of goal, but you know what they say, que no marca sofre. So o Porto pôs-se a jeito. At one point, Gil Vicente, com o João Talocha, they could have scored, and it looked ugly for Porto. Gil Vicente plays well when they have the ball on their feet. I did watch the game. They think that they know how to play. We'll talk about Sporting Gil Vicente, which they give us a hard time as well. But they're not an easy team like people make it sound to be. I could see this team finishing in the middle of the standings in the Portuguese league. I don't think they'll drop to the second division. I think they'll accumulate enough points to finish in a comfortable way in our Portuguese league. I liked it. They have a good coach, and they played well enough to at least tie at Porto, just because Porto missed so many goals, and and then they created a couple chances to tie the game. About the PK not being retaken, I can see Bruno's point of view about that. But the rule does state that if both players invade the box, then the referee has the discretion of not recalling the PK. With that said, I agree. If the exception was made at Ferenc, now you have to either they rectify it, or the referees don't call these fucking bullshit PKs back. I believe that's what they did, because I agree with Bruno. If they're going to recall PKs because of players invading the box, it's going to be every weekend. Every single weekend it's going to happen. So I'm glad they didn't call that, because shame on Uribe missing the PK. Yeah, like Bruno said, you had two guys that could taken it, specialists in PKs. Why not them? I have no clue. That's they telling them.
Well, he explained it.
Maybe he wanted to motivate Uribe.
No, he said it in his press conference. They asked him, and right before the Champions League game, and he said that at training he hits 10 out of 10. And
okay, maybe that's why. About the complaining, why would the Benfiquista or Sportingista complain? If anyone has to complain, it's Sportistas.
That's why I'm complaining.
No, you just did that, and you did pretty good. Your game. I'm not going to complain about your game. You have to complain about your game like I have to complain about my games. So you complain about Porto's game. That's actually expected and understandable. But me and George, we're not going to complain about Porto's game. We don't really give two shits about that. Like you don't give two shits about Sporting game or Benfica game.
Well,
so why would you expect me and George to complain about the Porto PK and the minutes and say mais que essa conversa toda?
Well, because when Porto is down or they're tied, and the referee gives X amount of minutes and it's played Y amount of minutes, people complain. So now it was the reverse. The referee did everything possible, and I mean everything possible, to red card Cesar Conceição because he was provoking him. Because there was 2 fouls, one on Maró, and I think the other one, I can't remember on who it was. I think it was Nakajima. And he said play on, and those were very dangerous fouls that could have been yellow cards. And he decided not to even issue a foul. And then he had the audacity to look at Sergio Conceição, and he would smile at him to provoke him because he wanted a reaction.
The audacity?
The audacity.
That Sergio Conceição shouldn't finish 7 out of 10 games in the bench. What are you talking about?
7 out of 10. And Cabaleira shouldn't finish 10 out of 10.
Because, that was back in the day. Not now. That was back in the day.
Listen, you're winning now. When the things get tough, and he starts making his way all the way to the end line and all the way to the other coach's bench, and complaining and doing everything, and the fourth official says nothing. Lets everything go like it's a free for all.
I know, like it happened in Alvalade.
What do you mean?
Ruben Amorim, because he said Tchau Laura, he was given a red card. O vosso treinador, ainda bem para ele, ele disse que o fogo ser mais and he stayed.
I don't know. It depends on who was he saying it to.
Pois, o quarto árbitro estava distraído.
I don't know what he was doing. I don't even know who the fourth referee was. But that's my point.
Isso que eu digo, também não me incomodei em descobrir quem era. But to go back on that little remark that you said about Sporting Porto game, I agree with you. The OT should have been at least, the extra time should have been at least 10 minutes. I agree. I think Sporting would have won that game. I think so. What you're talking about is ele apitou no terceiro minuto quando o Porto estava para a área de Sporting. I agree with you on that. But it doesn't mean that if we got the ball back, we wouldn't have gotten back and scored against Porto.
Anything could have been possible. Anything.
Yeah. The game was broken, but the PK that we got robbed on was a PK. That the 2 days later, when they saw those images, I don't know why it was 2 days later, it clearly, we've seen it, that it was a PK. Equally the same as Marega against Braga, which was very soft, but it was given to Porto.
All right. Anything else on this game? Yes or no?
Did you see the PK today for Benfica?
I have not seen.
Okay, so watch those and then compare that to PK do Pot, and then you tell me what's the difference. I challenge you on that, and then give me your honest opinion, and we'll talk about it offline throughout the week.
I don't have to. I have it right here.
Okay, so watch the 2 PKs that were given to Benfica by a French referee. A French referee. So it has nothing to do. Não tem nada a ver com corrupção. Tem a ver que o árbitro com categoria marcou o penalti e não voltou com a palavra atrás. O penalti ficou marcado e mais nada. Agora, quanto ao Porto, fomos roubados.
Well, in this one, I'm looking at this one PK. I don't know which one this is, but he gets kicked in the heel.
Got it.
So,
and the Porto got what? On the chin and the ankle. That is left.
I can't see this here.
Intensidade.
Well, I can't even see his. It's showing from the number down. I can't see because they're focusing on his feet.
I know. That's something they didn't focus on against the PK against Porto. They focused on the hand only. Even me, I focused on the hand because the images that were given by Sport TV was only the hand. The feed came up 2 days later to the public. But o VAR e a cidade de futebol tem 4.500 câmaras com 450 ângulos, geometria, PhD degrees, and they still fucked it up for some reason.
Listen, the only thing I could say is they reversed it. I know you don't like it, and that's all you could do. I mean, I see a few Malingers are complaining they were the same PKs. Okay, so when let's see if it happens again against Sporting. Let's see if Malingers has os tomates para vir aqui para falar que é penalti contra o Sporting. Quero ver.
Só tenho que comparar um penalti que aconteceu na grande área do Porto, lá ao lado dos penaltis que o Porto, os penaltis do Benfica eram penaltis, não eram, como o penalti do Sporting também era. É só isso que eu quero dizer. É só comparar e vais ver.
Mas os 3 minutos em vez dos 10, se calhar foi para compensar esse penalti.
Achas? Então a gente estava por cima quando a gente marcou o
eu estou a falar se calhar para proteger o ponto do Sporting. O Bruno está a pedir mais tempo e eu estou a dizer que se calhar o árbitro e só dar esse screw up e decidiu acabar o jogo logo.
Maybe. Porque o Vieto, e se fosse um gajo acertado, ainda bem que foi vendido.
Eu estava à espera que o árbitro terminasse o jogo e fosse para o balneário e depois trouxesse as equipas para trás, change this mind e desse mais 7 minutos.
O Vieto
Mas eu não sei we all know where Pinheiro came from. We all know.
Oh yeah. São todos.
Pinheiro.
São todos padres.
São todos padres. Está lá nos himnos.
Vai lá ver.
Vai lá ver.
Foi o Luís Godinho.
É esse Luís Godinho, é isso.
Pois, quando é o primeiro clássico dele, ele começou logo a tremer, cagou-se todo logo.
Não, mas que clássico. Então ele já esse gajo. Quantas derrotas é que o Benfica tem com o Godinho árbitro?
Não sei.
Quantas derrotas é que o Porto tinha com o Proença? In his whole career?
Muitas.
Que nos anos 80?
Muitas. Tinhas muitas tinhas.
Os sócios
anos 80 e 90.
E o outro, o Soares Dias? Quantas é que vocês têm com o Soares Dias?
Olha, temos aquele celebre jogo, the game in which the clássico after Eusebio died, where he had the audacity to call a red card on Danilo when he was the one that got dragged down.
O jogo que tu levaste uma tareia no Estádio da Luz depois do Eusébio. Tu és tolo. Tu és tolo. Não digas nada disso.
Tu é que estás tolo. Jogo de polémica, mas de muita polémica.
Pois, só no Dragão e na Janta já que não há polémica nenhuma. Lá joga-se golfe, toma-se banho com lexívia e não há problema nenhum. Não há polémica nenhuma. Lá não há polémica nenhuma.
Lá das goleadas em clássico de 5-0.
Pois, lá não há polémica nenhuma.
Lá das goleadas 5-0.
Claro, porque com super dragões igual a ti, levar pedradas na autoestrada antes de chegar ao estádio e ao hotel e tudo, o que é que tu queres também?
Tem grande
por amor de Deus. Não tem influência. Olha, passa aqui para a minha casa, eu espeto 2 tiros no tanque do carro a ver se tu vens para cá para a próxima vez, se passas cá outra vez.
Epá, olha, se calhar foi. Was that the reason why what's his name left? Because foi os vidraços nos olhos dos adeptos do Benfica.
Não podes dar 2 tiros no tanque do carro, senão explode.
Não porta, ou seja, é just a figure of speech. Ele sabe o que é que eu quero dizer.
Bruno, quantos campeonatos é que o Pinto da Costa ganhou enquanto já...
Legais, 1 ou 2. Total.
Foi 22 limpinhos.
22. E quantas taças de Portugal?
Epá, essa não sei, I have to look.
12. O Porto tem 29 campeonatos e 17 taças de Portugal, não é?
Something like that. 17 taças, yeah, I think it's 17.
Então, se a gente formos pessoas honestas e sem corrupção, sem mais nada, o Porto tem 100 campeonatos e 5 taças de Portugal atualmente.
Tem quantos?
7 campeonatos nacionais e 5 taças de Portugal, que ganharam de uma maneira verídica, sem batota.
Why is that?
Porque o Pinto Costa, desde que chegou lá, o Futebol Clube Porto devia chamar Futebol Clube Pinto Costa.
But hold on a second. Steph, you're forgetting one factor, Steph. I always like to bring this up. I always like to ask dos Lisboetas, os do Sul. I like to ask them this question. Espera aí, deixa eu fazer a pergunta. I like to ask them, would you like a dictator, mas desta vez do Norte? Salazar do Norte? Já te esqueceste? Não querem!
História mesmo.
Eu também já...
Tiveste o Google. Tu nem eras nascido, nem estavas nos colhões do teu tetravô, meu.
Não interessa.
A
história está lá. A história está lá. You can read it.
Não, tu não sabes a história. I'm sorry, but you don't know. Não, desculpa que te diga, mas tu não sabes a história. Porque o Salazar nem benfiquista era.
Não, era pouco.
Não. E vou dizer mais uma coisa, ok? Vou dizer mais uma coisa. Tu sabes quem é que te deu o estádio das Jantas? Porque foi dado. Não venhas com história.
Foi o inglês.
Como é que tiveste o estádio das Jantas?
O inglês?
Hey, George.
Não foi inglês, não. Não foi inglês, não.
George, I'm going to ask you.
Eu vou dizer vou fazer outra pergunta. Quantas vezes é que... Não, vou-te fazer 2 ou 3 e depois para tu pensares e ir ao Wikipedia e depois para a semana ou se buscar. Quantas vezes é que o Salazar salvou o Porto da despromoção? Ou quantas é que salvou o Benfica?
Não havia naquela altura, acho eu.
Havia. Quantas vezes é que o Porto foi ajudado, foi salvo da despromoção por benfiquista Salazar? Por o benfiquista Salazar.
Não te esqueças de uma coisa.
Não te engasgo, olha. Just breathe in and breathe out.
I'm going to ask you a question. George, what would you prefer? Titles given or a stadium given? Which would you prefer?
What titles? You don't know what you're talking about, dude. O Benfica nem foi o clube que ganhou mais títulos durante o tempo de Salazar, man. What are you talking about, dude? Go do some research.
I know the research.
Go do some research. No, you don't know the research.
Majority of the fans were Benfica fans at the time. Okay?
What does that have to do with it?
And for him to keep peace, he had to give titles to Benfica because the fans would go crazy.
That's not the truth. That's just not the truth. Benfica. Eu vou seguir o teu train of thought. Porque agora se tu dizes alguma coisa ao contrário, tu és um hipócrita, não é? Então o Benfica, que era a melhor equipa na Europa nesse tempo, uma das melhores, ao lado do Real Madrid e tudo, então as Ligas dos Campeões também foram dadas. Porque é o que tu dizes do Porto agora. Porque é o que tu dizes do Porto agora. Tu dizes agora, quando eu vir para ti e digo que o Porto é corrupto, que o Porto só ganha títulos em Portugal por corrupção, tu e os teus amigos Super Dragões, os Super Dragões viram-se para mim e dizem: mas na Europa então também. E na Europa? Qual é a desculpa na Europa? Então qual é a desculpa do tempo de Salazar do Benfica na Europa? O Salazar também dava a Liga dos Campeões ao Benfica?
Listen, we're not debating that Benfica, Porto, or Sporting during those times had good teams. The only difference is when Porto would go down the Mondego River south, they would always lose. It was always automatic. You tell me why. That's a little strange, don't you think?
No.
Porto.
They had less money. They had shitty teams, not as good as Benfica.
Lê a história do Salazar, aprende do Salazar, vê quem ganhou mais títulos, não só campeonatos, títulos em tudo, títulos de futebol, qual foi a equipa que ganhou mais títulos de futebol, e vais ver que não é o Benfica. Tu vais ver que o Estádio das Jantas foi dado por o Salazar, e nem foi por o Salazar, porque nesse tempo o Salazar já estava doente. O second in charge do Salazar, he was a diehard portista, e ele ajudava o Porto em tudo. E o Estádio das Jantas, se tu fores ver a história do Estádio das Jantas, o Estádio das Jantas foi oferecido por a ditadura de Salazar. por o second in charge. Eu dava-te o nome agora, mas eu não quero gastar tempo a ir ao Wikipedia. O Porto era para ser despromovido 2 vezes e não foi despromovido porquê? Porque o Salazar não deixou o Porto deixar de descer a divisão. Do some research. All it takes is for you to go to Wikipedia or Google and it's there. Porque daqui, como eu gosto de dizer muitas vezes, daqui para aqui o espaço é muito curto. Pode-se falar as coisas muito rapidamente, sem coisa. Mas faz research e depois diz as verdades.
I've done my research on Salazar.
You have.
Yes, I have. And don't forget that not too long ago, your ex-president Vilarinho came out and said that he doctored papers in which Benfica should have dropped division, and they didn't because of these doctored documents. Don't forget.
What does that have to do with Salazar? You brought the topic of Salazar. That was back in 2000. And if things were the way they were supposed to be, if we weren't in a third world country, tu já davas a jogar distritais nesse tempo.
Who?
Futebol corrupto do Porto.
How it would be? We would win titles with more than 10 plus points.
Yeah, olha, YouTube / Apito Dourado. They're all over there.
Yeah. Olha, Bruno, o Porto deveria ter descido divisão nos anos 80 e 90, not once, but several times. E o Benfica também agora recentemente, atenção. Também os emails que agora they want to shred and want to make them disappear all of a sudden. You know, I understand and I do agree with the people, everyone that says he hacked into a private computer server. I agree with that. But nevertheless, let's talk about the emails. Let's talk about what he found, Rui Pinto. Mas if the justice was fair and square back in the 80s and the 90s, Porto would have been in trouble. But we in the 21st century, and Benfica got away with it too. So it doesn't matter. It's the way it is in Portugal. It's a very corrupt country, and he'll never move on. That's the way it is.
It's moving toward getting worse.
Está a ficar pior, claro que sim. O governo português não quer. A vida em Portugal está mais cara que aqui. Está mais cara que aqui.
All right. Well, we're getting way off track. Let's move on to Benfica versus outro clube lá de Lisboa, mas era do Petit.
Outro clube de Salazar agora.
Olha, o Belenenses back then was bigger than Porto. Já podes ver.
São todos de Salazar.
O Belenenses era.
Quem é que foi o padre desta missa também?
Não era preciso, estava lá o Petit.
Por isso é que o Benfica veio-se a arrasca até aos 75 minutos. Porque o Petit abriu as pernas. Enfim.
Ritmo de treino.
Vamos embora. Então, line-up para o Benfica. Vlaco Dimos, Ané, Gilberto, Otamendi, Vertonghen, Alex Grimaldo, Rafa, Weigl, Tarabt, Everton, Darwin Nunes e Seferovic. No Belenenses, Moreira na baliza, Ribeiro, Henriques e Henrique, Ruben Lima, Taira, Caué, Esgaio, Varela, Cassiera, Cardoso. O Petit disse ao Varela, tu és um super dragão, jogaste no Porto muito tempo, mas agora vamos jogar contra o meu Benfica, por favor. Em vez de ir a 30 a hora, vai só a 10. E o Varela então até marcou um gol sem querer e disse, foi ao Petit, I'm sorry, foi sem querer. Eu apontei para a esquerda e foi para dentro da baliza. Mas enfim.
One versus 11 rough.
Mas enfim. O que é que eu vou dizer? Look, like I said before, it was a Benfica entrou bem, marcou logo aos 6 minutos por Seferovic, an awesome cross by Grimaldo, the whole left side actually, it wasn't just Grimaldo and Everton, you know, that left side really worked well the whole game, contrary to the right side. I think Gilberto is still long ways from being a starting right back. Rafa Silva for whatever reason, he has much better games when he comes in at halftime or a little bit past halftime. Every time that he starts, I just I don't know. He's just not in his best form. Otamendi and Vertonghen had a really good game. Weigl came back to the starting lineup with Tarabt. Weigl, probably one of the best games that Weigl has had at Benfica, especially this year. I mean, he hasn't really played much. Tarabt, played really good, and Darwin Núñez finally was able to, after getting a goal called back for offside, he was able to get his league goal after scoring that hat trick in the UEFA League. Vilnius in the 34th minute, 35th minute, was, like I said before, was able to Varela win against team orders and scored a goal by mistake. Lucky for us and lucky for Petit, the goal was offside. It was called offside. So Varela, is lucky that he still got a job because Petit told him not to score because he was playing against Benfica and he scored. But second half again, we started very strong, very attacking. The team is obviously getting more comfortable with the ideas of Jorge Jesus. The pressuring off the ball, and then the speed through the wings. And we was pretty we should have and we could have had an easier game. Instead of just scoring the second goal do descanso in the 75th minute, but we were able to turn things around and get a good score, against Belenenses.
Olha, we kicked out Bruno. He got upset for churaram, caralho. So I guess I'll chime in about the Benfica game. I think Jorge Jesus, as the coach as he is a good coach, and you could see all the Benfica cylinders kicking in, and the team is gaining confidence game after game. They've been pretty consistent. Belenenses, like most teams in Portugal, they'll play against the big teams in a very defensive way, dropping the lines, and that's what Belenenses did. They were kind of dangerous at one point, but I did watch the game. I never thought that Benfica was at risk of even tying the game, never mind losing the game. It was overall a good performance by Sport Lisboa Benfica, and if I'm Benfiquista, I would be very content with the performances and with the coaching ability from Jorge Jesus, because you could see that the players listen to him, they listen to the way he wants them to play, and hey, everything is going in your favor. I really think that the first game of the Champions League, if it was a little bit later, you guys would have advanced. Yeah. It was just bad luck. It was just the first game when Jesus just got there. Still kind of a preseason mode, and it was just one game. If it was two games like it typically is, I think Benfica would have won at Stade de Luz and would have gone through the group stage and played against como é que chama aquela equipa? Krasnodar. But it didn't happen. So anyway, about this game overall, yeah, good performance by Benfica, and that's it. That's all I gotta say. I don't know what happened with Bruno, but
it looks like Bruno had another power outage in his town, so he should be back in a little bit.
Okay. So basically, we can move on to the Sporting Gil Vicente, and then we'll come back when Bruno is back to the Portugal Champions League, and then we'll finish up with the Benfica and Braga Europa games, which I watched both anyway. So for Sporting against Gil Vicente, I'll just say the lineup of Sporting really fast. So we played on a 3-4-3 with Aran goal, Fedal, Coates, and Luis Net in the back. Nunes, Mateus, Luis Nunes, João Palhinha, and Pedro Porro. Then we had Nunes Santos, Jovan Borges, and Pot. So very, very tough game against a very organized defensively Gil Vicente. They played on a 4-3-3. Super, super, super defensive. We were expecting that because these small teams, when they come to Alvalade or Stade da Luz or the Stade do Dragão, that's how they play. They want to see if they can steal at least 1 point and counterattack and maybe win the game with a goal falling out of the sky. And it almost happened with Gil Vicente. Lucas Mineiro, he scored a goal at the 52nd minute. And we only scored the tying goal at the 82nd after making several substitutions. André Sporar came to the pitch, Tiago Tomás, Pot, and Bragança came into the pitch, and that modified the game tremendously. And good tying goal by Sporar, good timing. At that point in time, I was still a believer that we could flip the score. And we did with a great pass from great vision from Bragança, which I'm expecting lots of things from him. And then Tiago Tomás, 18 years old, fez a cabalhota. And then Pot at the very last minute, when the game was basically done and resolved, he scored an awesome game off a mistake of a defender from Gil Vicente, and he sealed the game 3-1. Tough win, but it's expected to play against more games against teams like that will try to use the same tactic. It's not a surprise at all. That's what happened at Dragão against Gil Vicente, and that's what happened against Benfica against Belenenses. So it's up to our teams to overcome that and find a way to score against these teams. Because once we score, then it's pretty easy. The second goal will appear naturally in the third goal because the tendency is for the coach of the opposition team to change the tactic and to see if they can score to tie the game again. Overall, great performance by the whole team, and my MVP for this game would be Bragança, just because when he came into the pitch, he did modify the whole game, and great vision by him. That's it. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, I think the same thing. I think, like I said before, I think getting down 1-0 and being able to turn the game around like that, it shows great character of a very young team. And it's I think with Bragança, that kid's going to be a stud. There's a couple of other players there that are already their price tag is already growing. So it's just a matter of Sporting holding on to them a couple more years and hopefully, and even now in the winter market, if they're able to get a 9 somewhere, that he can plug into the lineup, I think it's gonna be great. And also, remember, Sporting already played a derby against Porto, which already it's one derby out of their season, and they're right there behind Benfica. So it just keeps giving the team more and more confianza, and it's only going to help. It's only going to help, and it's like you said about Benfica. The more they play together, the more games they play together, and they experience each other. The better the team is going to get. Definitely, the better the team is going to get. So yeah, great job by Sporting, by Ruben Amorim, by Varandas for bringing Ruben Amorim in. But yeah, a good.
I like Ruben Amorim. I'm not one of those Sportingistas that holds a grudge because of Benfica. If that would be the case, then example of players that played at Sporting that were Benfiquista and Sportingistas that played at Benfica and vice versa. So it's a silly way of thinking. I don't agree with the 10 million that we paid for it. That I don't. But, he's a great coach and he's showing it. Granted, we gave him the players he asked for, exception for the number 9, like you just said. He doesn't feel comfortable with Sporati. For him, Sporati doesn't fit in his tactics. And I understand. O Sporati é mais vertical, um jogador mais vertical. So, but with that said, I guess we can move on to the Benfica game that they played today. Did you watch it?
Oh, I did. Oh, and just I forgot to mention a little side note on the Benfica Belenenses game. Just the injury of Grimaldo that had to be carted out. Thankfully, he was going for a slide tackle and his cleat got one of the studs got stuck in the grass and turned his whole ankle around. So it looks like he's only going to be out a couple of weeks, which is really good news, because the last thing we needed was for both of our fullbacks to be out with long season-ending injuries. Even though today Tavares did a really good job playing on that side. He's a beast. I think he's going to be a stud as well. It's just a matter of how many minutes he's going to have a chance to play to further develop. But so you want to talk about today's game against Standard Liège?
You want to touch the Braga game first? We don't have to beat the lineup, just to give our personal opinion about how they played away. Did you?
I just watched. Yeah, I watched the highlights. Looks like Braga started really strong. First 10 minutes of the game, 11 minutes, they were winning 2-0. Great goal by Paulinho, and then a freaking awesome goal by Gaetan. Nice to see Gaetan score again. One of those looked like they really didn't give a really good angle, but it looked like one of those trivelas from outside the box with his left foot. And then the other team scored their goal later on, but really just for Portuguese soccer as a whole, 3 wins this week. Both Porto, Benfica, and Braga all won in the European League. Last week, Braga won, Benfica won, and then Porto had the
difficult game.
And then we were talking offline. Carvalhal in his after game interview really went off on the media for not giving Braga as much recognition and attention as he thinks they should be getting, being that last week Braga was looks like the team in the Europa League that had the most offensive statistics, you could say, and no one really has been talking about them. Olha que o nosso amigo já foi fazer o research do Salazar e do pessoal todo. I
did my research and what I said was true.
Foi ao Home Depot buscar o gerador.
Não foi ao Home Depot. Ele tem que fazer o Google do Odmiro Carneiro, é o nome dele.
O Carneiro.
Odmiro Carneiro. Second in charge of Salazar, diehard Portista. And I want to thank Mr. Ricky Pinho for the information. Second in charge of Salazar, the one that actually was in charge for a long, long time when Salazar got sick and was bedridden. If Bruno knew the story, you would know that for many, 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 many years, so even though Salazar was in power, Salazar really didn't do anything with the country. This Carneiro guy was the guy that actually ran the whole country, and a diehard Portista that gave Porto their first stadium, Estádio das Jantas, and helped them not get relegated a couple of times. But going back to accounts.
I'll continue to ask the question, and the question is: would you prefer stadium or would you prefer titles?
You got both.
The stadium.
You got both.
the stadium. You know why? Because without the stadium, there's no titles.
You got both, Bruno. You got both.
No, not necessarily.
You got both.
We got a lot of years. We got a lot of years without a lot of years. Was it 19 years without winning a title that around that time? It was prohibited in the North to win. I don't know. I don't understand how there's people in the North that like Southern clubs. I just don't understand.
Continuar o podcast de futebol.
So we were talking a little bit about the Braga game. So if you want to touch up on the Braga game, then we're going to go to the Porto game.
No, we'll go straight to the Porto game. If I really don't have much to share about Braga. I mean, they got 2 major victories and no respect from SIC. So, that's all I really got to say about them.
Yeah, so Braga, I'll say something. I did watch the game because today was off, and they dominated the first half, and then they got the 2-0 really early, the 3rd minute, Paulinho, and then Nicolas Gaitan made it 2-0. And then the second half, basically Carvalhal dropped the lines and gave the ball to Zodiac Lukasz, and they just couldn't score. And the goal came at the final whistle. When they scored, the game was over. But the good news, like George was saying, thanks to Braga, Porto, and Benfica, that having such a great round this week. Portugal in 2020 and 2021, we already have 4 points, a total of 42.949. Behind us, we have Russia in 7th place, who in 6th place. So we widened the gap by almost 6 points, and we gained some ground on the French. Of course, the more games. No, that's it. Actually, we won almost a whole point on France. So they have 51, we have 42. So that's good. That's good. And like I said it before, when now things play on an international level, I like them to win clubs apart. Infelizmente, o meu Sporting fez barraca este ano. Vergonha total. But let's go to Porto's game.
Porto went or hosted Olympiacos, the champion of Greece. The lineups were Marchesín in goal, Manafá, I don't understand why. Mbemba Pep, his 100th Champions League appearance. Zaidu, Sergio Oliveira, and Uribe. Fabio Vieira ahead of them. Jesus Corona and Otavio, and the useless Marega up top. Basically, this game was Porto pressing very early on. They were looking for the goal. I just don't understand how Manafá continues to be in the lineup. He is definitely by far the weakest link. Zaidu is starting to come around. He's starting to provide a lot of width and a lot of support up the wing on the left. Once he starts to cross with precision like Dels, he's going to be one dangerous player. But his speed is totally different than anything that we've ever had.
Who's that?
Zaidu. Zaidu provides a lot of width. You can play him in space, and he's going to win a lot of those balls. Sergio Oliveira and Uribe played decently. Corona was a little down. It seems like he's a little on the fatigue side. He looks a little tired. Fabio Vieira played a heck of a game. Otavio, once again, subpar. And Marega is just like, he's not a 9, and I don't understand why, especially when you have Manafá on the team. You could easily eliminate him, push Corona back as the right back, and slide Marega over to the right wing, because Marega is not a guy that plays well with his back to goal. Marega needs through balls, and he does have a better cross than an ability to shoot, because sometimes he takes a shot and the balls go over the crossbar and all that other stuff. I just think that Ivan Nielsen right now is clearly our best striker. He showed it against Gil Vicente, and it's puzzling to me to just understand why he's not a starter consistently. I mean, the guy had two balls off the crossbar, and he scored a goal. Why are you going to put him on the bench? Keep him starting. He needs minutes. He's crying for minutes. I see over here Malinga saying Taremi needs to be a starter. There's an argument there as well. Taremi's a good player. He's been coming very good off the bench. So I think between those two guys, those are your two best. Tony Martinez, I think, is by far our fourth best option at striker. But Fabio Vieira right now is coming into his own. He's a guy that's distributing very well. Defensively, he still struggles. He's still growing in that area. He still has a lot to develop as a transition in defensively, but offensively, he's fantastic. He knows how to spread the field. Sergio Oliveira, I thought had an okay game. In the second half, Olympiacos really pressed. They were looking for the tying goal, but once Porto made a change in the lineup, and that's when things changed. Nakajima came in. He has a lot more speed, but the guy that made the big difference was Grujic. When Grujic came in, he stabilized the midfield. He won tons of balls, and on top of that, he was starting plays. And I think in the very near future, I think that Grujic is going to be the starting center defensive support. I think he's going to take Uribe's spot, and Uribe hasn't been playing bad. Another guy that's been coming in the last two games and he's coming well was Romario Baró. Romario Baró came in a little late this game, but the previous game against Gil Vicente, he changed the game. He stabilizes the midfield. He holds the ball. He knows how to circulate the ball. And I think this is a guy that going forward is going to be an option, at least coming off the bench, playing in the middle of the field, not on the outside. Steph, anything to add?
Yeah,
George?
actually, yes. I did watch the game, and like you said, the first half was kind of a split. Porto was uptick, more dangerous than Olympiacos, and then they scored, and they kind of recomposed themselves. And Olympiacos in the second half, like you said, they came in wanting to tie the game and change the course of the game. He made some changes, and I don't know what he said at halftime, but it worked out. And then Conceição, like you said, he made some key substitutions. Corona, you could see he was exhausted. I mean, it's been back-to-back games every 3 days. So, even though sometimes we say, só joga uma bola e mais nada, the human being still. So they do get exhausted. I like Fabio Vieira, né? Fabio Vieira. See, I like the kid, but he has to stop complaining so much. I think he's going to get a lot of cards because he's a fucking whiner, and he whines too much like a little bitch. And it's for him to get the status of a great player, he has to stop doing that. Because in the Portuguese, especially now in the Portuguese league, when referees they show yellow cards just because you looked at him the wrong way. So if Serge Conceição doesn't put a hand on him and teach him to zip it, I could foresee some referees giving him a lot of yellows because of all his complaining.
Well, he was complaining because he got 2 elbows to the face.
No, but he
wasn't the only one.
It's just not this game. It's like I've seen enough Porto games this season, and it's only been 5, 6, 7, 8 games total, and he just complains a lot all the time for anything and everything.
He's only played in the last couple of ones though.
Well, he's been coming off the bench a few times, but all I gotta say is he's a great player. He's got the skill set. Don't get me wrong, mas tem que crescer mais bocadinho na cabeça. Besides that, Manafa, I don't know why you hate him so much. I think he had a decent game, but every time I see you on Facebook, you're the first one to criticize your own player week after week after week after week. I don't think I agree with you because some games he was key, he was good as a right fullback. I don't know why you hate him so much. I don't know.
Why?
That's
He misses passes. He can't cross the ball.
the only one.
He can't defend.
The only
Opposing teams attack him only because they don't go to anybody else. They attack him. Let me ask you something. You saw the game against Manchester City.
I'm not
What
gonna.
did they do? What did they do immediately as he came on the field?
Manchester City game. It was not his fault that you guys lost.
I'm not saying. I'm just okay. Gil Vicente. I'll use Gil Vicente. Forget about Man City because you didn't understand my question.
I don't want to get into that against about your players actually, but I don't agree with you that he's such a bad player. But
He's terrible. He's not bad. He's terrible.
He's not that bad, and he's going to play because you know what? O Sérgio Conceição tem curso de treinador do quarto nível, so I think he knows what he's doing. And he just won the Portuguese title in Taça de Portugal, so I think he knows what he's doing. Besides that, Porto deserved to win. Tirar o chapéu ao Futebol Clube Porto. They had to win that game anyway to remain competitive in the group. It was key. And I think Marseille lost, didn't they? Or they tied? Bruno.
Okay. Marseille lost.
They lost, exactly. So that was good for Porto. So yeah, that's all I gotta say.
They have 0 points after 2 games. Manchester City has 6. Porto and Olympiacos are now tied at 3. And Porto now goes to dupla jornada with Marseille, both home and then away. And
they gotta win those 2 games.
You win those 2 games, I think 3, 6, 9, and you go to Olympiacos, and we host Manchester City in the last game. I think that's what it is. We have very good possibility of passing.
Yeah.
For sure.
If you tie at Marseille and win at home, pretty much you seal it.
No, the thing is Porto has to go with the mentality of going to Greece and France to win because they have the capability to go there and win. Those teams are not. They're equal to us. They're not. But then again, like those teams also come. Olympiacos came to Estadio Dragão, and they competed for the 3 points. They didn't sit there and hope for a tie. They went to win the game.
The second half, they could have scored.
They could have. Marchesino's there and he was doing his job, but
hey.
George, you have anything to add on this one?
No, I think you said it all. I think it was a game that Porto needed to win. Porto definitely is going to need to win both games against Olympiacos to have a chance to move forward. I think it's going to have tough games against Marseille, unless Vilas Boas pulls up a teach-up. So we'll see what happens. But I think the Olympiaco games, both of them, Porto definitely has to win.
I still think even Marseille, because the Marseille games are very capable of winning. Now that France has shut down again and there are no fans allowed in the stadiums, it seems like it's going to be a neutral site. And Porto has to go there and they have to beat Marseille. I mean, I pay close attention to Marseille's results, and let's be honest, their results are nothing that special. They've been struggling at home like they were away. So we have to we have to go there with the mentality of winning. Not to mention that we need the money. So
Marseille is doing a pretty good champion.
They are. Yeah. They are, but you would agree that they're the same level as us?
No, they haven't. They didn't spend almost any money. They don't have it. They didn't. They
can't. They're in FIFA Fair Play.
Exactly. So
they in 4th place. They won 4 times. They tied 3 times and lost 1 time in France. So
they have not. They've been pretty inconsistent so far. They have opportunities to win games and they can't close them out. And on a couple of those wins, they won last minute. they were tied to the very end, and then they were able to pull out a win right at the end. So, but again, they don't have difference makers.
They're still a dangerous team, you know.
Of course, absolutely.
Important.
That Benedetto is a very dangerous striker. He was a guy that was linked to Porto 2 years ago. Not this past season, but the season before. And Porto opted not to go after him, and he's a terrific striker. And then they have what is it, Payet? Payet is there.
Mhm.
He's a very dangerous player, but I mean, if Porto, if they're able to nullify him, then you start giving them a lot of problems.
It was
Because
consistently called for the national team, yeah.
So, well, you remember he left England on his own. He requested to leave.
Mhm.
All right, we'll move ahead. We have you guys covered the UEFA Cup, correct?
Yeah.
You covered
No.
Zenit?
No, we didn't. Yeah, we covered that. We didn't cover Benfica.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go for it.
All right,
George.
we played Standard Liège today. Our starting lineup was Vlaco Dimos, Diogo Gonçalves, Otamendi, Vertonghen, and Nelson and Tavares, Nuno Tavares. We had Pedrinho, Gabriel, Pizzi, and Everton, and then we had Walsh-Schmidt with Darwin Nunes. Look, you look at the stats for the Benfica game. Benfica, again started very strong. We had 67% possession versus 33%. We had 16 shots on net versus 16 total shots versus 6, 5 on net versus 1. Our pass accuracy was 89%. We had 7 corners against 3. So we dominated the game today against Standard Liège. Standard Liège really didn't do much. We had hold on, my computer just froze. We had a really good. We started out with 2 brand new backs, defensive backs with Diogo Gonçalves. Actually, his first game playing at the right back, taking over for Gilberto, who took over for Almeida, André Almeida, that got injured. We had Tavares on the left side taking over for Grimaldo, who had a really bad ankle sprain last game for Benfica. He's going to be out 2 to 3 weeks. Pedrinho, didn't really do much, and it was subbed by Rafa at halftime. Pizzi had a really awesome game. Scored 2 goals on a PK, and then an awesome goal off a shot almost just inside the box on the left hand side. Everton, very very good game as well. Walsh-Schmidt and Darwin Nunes, but it was a great game. Great to see fans back at Estádio da Luz. We had about 5,000 fans today at Estádio da Luz, so it was great to have fans back there. And 2 games, 6 points. We're tied for first place against Rangers. The next game is going to be against Rangers, and which are having really good success under Steven Gerrard as well in the Europa League. So we'll see what that happens. What happens with that game. But Benfica really playing well. Jorge Jesus after the game said that this was probably the best game that Benfica's ever played under him. Since he's been back. Like Steph said earlier on. I think even though Jorge Jesus is being crucified for losing the Power game, and as he should, being that it was a 1 game versus 2 games, and it was the first game of the season. I think if Benfica would have had a little bit more time, they would definitely have gone through to the Champions League, because we're definitely a Champions League team, but unfortunately we couldn't pull the result in Greece, and we are where we are. But an awesome game by Benfica. It's great to see that the team is really taking on the idea of the coach. With a lot of pressure off the ball. And a lot of speed, transitioning to the attacking midfield. And then up front you have really good players, Walshmith and Darwin Nunes. They're really getting used to each other. And then when we have to put another forward in, Seferovic is doing a really good job as well. I like the fact that Jorge Jesus today gave about 10 minutes, 15 minutes to Gonçalo Ramos, also, which that's what he should do. With Benfica winning 3-0, up 3-0, you got to give the kid some minutes. So overall, I think it was a really good game.
Steph, anything to add?
Don't say it at all. I have nothing much to say, but I did watch the game since I was off today. So yeah, I watched 3 games. So you guys know I watched the Sporting under 23 this morning against Maritimo, which they won 3-2. Then I watched the Braga game, which they won 2-1, and I watched the Benfica game, which they won 3-0. So it was a great day for me. Let's say that. My team didn't. I got to watch it yesterday because I got home before 5:45. So because of the difference of schedule and the time change only taking effect this Sunday, it paid off for me yesterday. But about the game against the game of Benfica, Benfica nominated the whole goddamn game. The other team, they couldn't hold on to the ball. Maybe the last 15 minutes they were losing 2-0. But besides that, Benfica dominated the game the entire time. The PKs, to me, they were PKs. Some people might say there were soft PKs, but you know what? They were PKs because the Benfica players who constantly inside the box, and the other players, all they did was being physical. Awesome goal by Pizzi, the way he knows how to score goals. And besides that, I think Benfica has no real opponent that can, less in Scotland against the Rangers because they always a dangerous team at home. But besides that, the 2 teams they played against, they're very soft. I could say they like in the middle table of the Portuguese league or lower. Nothing significant teams. But the Benfica team is growing strong and stronger. They're assimilating the Jorge Jesus ideas quite well, and you see they give preference of holding the ball, controlling the ball, and I'm glad we only play Benfica Sporting in January. It's one of the last games. It's the 16th round, if I'm not mistaken. We'll play Benfica. And that's good because it gives more time for Ruben Amorim and our young team to get to know each other better, so we can be more prepared to play against Benfica so late in the first volta of the Liga Portuguesa. So besides that, hey, I think congratulations to all 3 teams, even though Sporting is out of the competitions. I'm really proud of the Porto win, Benfica and Braga. For the UEFA ranking, we consolidated the 6th position in the ranking of the UEFA. We catching on to France a little bit, so that's good. So good job.
All right, we'll move ahead.
So hold on, give me 1 second. So before we move ahead, I think we have a couple of other topics to cover. I'm going to give you guys a treat. Because when we're discussing soccer, it's not the one that yells the loudest. It's not the one that makes the biggest, the biggest scene. It's statistics, right? I think we all played soccer. It's all about statistics, right? So I'm gonna give. I know we have like 10 people watching this right now, and so I'm gonna give you guys a treat. So when we're talking about statistics, so we can see the comparison between statistics, reality, and a lot of what we call noise. So let me share my screen for a second. You guys let me know if you can see it.
Make sure it's not something we're gonna be.
No, not yet.
It's a family show.
We're gonna.
Are you guys seeing my screen now or no?
No. We see your ugly face.
Okay, hold on. All right, let me see. Hold on.
I'll give you statistics too. So you want to play statistics? I'll give you another one too.
I'm gonna.
This one was actually a pretty good one.
How about now?
Now,
You're not seeing my screen right now?
Wait. What are you gonna? You gonna have to.
just a click. Okay, tá bom.
Can you see my screen?
This
Yeah.
is this season.
Yeah. So, are you seeing the statistics?
Well, it has nothing to do with me, Bruno. The defender.
Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about statistics and not noise. This doesn't take in consideration this week's game. This is from first week to the fourth week. Penaltis a favor, 3 para o Porto, 0 para o Benfica. Penaltis contra, 1 para o Benfica, 0 para o Porto. Amarelos, 10 contra o Benfica, 7 para o Porto. Amarelos aos adversários, 4 para o Benfica, 14 para o Porto. Vermelhos para os adversários, 0 para o Benfica, 1 para o Porto. Análises favoráveis do VAR, 5 a favor, 0 para o Benfica, 5 a favor do Porto. Análises contra do VAR, 5 contra o Benfica, 0 contra o Porto.
All right, so George, this is only through week 5, right?
This is through week 4.
Week 4.
Yeah,
So after 4 games. That's after. Okay, so talk to me when it's after 34 games, and we'll see those numbers again.
So if you know anything about math, if these are the numbers after 4 games, after 30 games, they're going to be much worse in your favor in your end.
That's not true.
Okay, so
that's not true.
So we'll see then.
We've seen those numbers in the past, and then at the end of the season, they were much different, and it was more.
So we'll be back in a few more weeks with some more statistics,
especially with the guy named Cableta leading the way.
But it's funny because it's always os padres e as missas e os petites e os this and os that, e depois you pull the numbers up and it's 3 penaltis a favor do Porto, 0 a favor do Benfica. It's vermelhos a favor.
You're playing against Petit, right? You're playing against Petit. Petit doesn't really. He tells his team to circulate the ball as soon as you get to the striker. Yeah. And then make sure you pass the ball all the way back.
But when you play Boa Vista and it's 0-0 at half time, and then in the second half you score das 5 golos contra 0. Isso é normal. Isso é normal.
You think that Boa Vista is going to open their legs for us?
Não, vai abrir para o Benfica. Para o Benfica, quando vem a Lisboa, quando nós vamos lá ao Porto, eles estendem a carpete vermelha, servem-nos Moet Chandon e dizem: olha, meus amigos, marquem à vontade.
Hey, George, I have a question for you. What was the player that can't play against Benfica this week?
And your point being?
Não,
também não foi. Não foi vermelho? Não foi vermelho?
Não sei, eu não vi.
Então devias ver antes de falar. É como quando falas do Salazar, devias fazer o research antes de falar.
No, I read on the news. It was a little dubious. But he did get
mas tu esses lances do Javi Garcia é tudo ok. Mas a semana passada metes um lance aqui do Marchesín, do penalti contra o Manchester City, e nem é a jogada do penalti. Tu fazes aqui um escândalo. Olha, pisaram, partiram quase a perna do meu guarda-redes e marcaram, e depois penalti. E depois fomos a ver, depois eu mandei-te a gravação, que o penalti foi chamado 20 e tal segundos depois disso.
Foi falta ou não?
Não.
Mas qual foi o padre que apitou isso? Também foi um padre do Benfica?
Foi.
Que está a apitar na Liga dos Campeões?
Foi.
Oh, okay. Let's move on to the next topic.
Padre. But isn't it amazing, George, that every time an ex-player from Benfica, when they're about to play Benfica, man, it's a bad luck. Muito azar. They get red carded every time, man.
Olha, antes disso, tu que apanhar uma caganeira antes do jogo e não jogar.
Uma caganeira por vários motivos, né?
Pois.
Claro, uma pessoa já sabe como é que é as coisas. Let me give you another interesting statistic. Cartões amarelos. So far, Sporting 18 cartões amarelos. Nacional 17, Marítimo 16, Farense 14, Vitória 13, Boa Vista 13, Gil Vicente 13, Famalicão 12, Santa Clara 12, finalmente o Futebol Clube de Porto, o Clube dos Honestos, 11, Balançado 11 e o Sporting Lisboa e Benfica, o Clube dos e-mails vão ser de férias, só 10.
Agora, mas espera aí, mas eu vi essa estatística, mas agora vira e diz, mostra aos clubes que têm a maior parte das faltas, porque os clubes.
O Vista tem 20.2 por jogo, a seguir vem o Futebol Clube dos Corruptos, o Timonense a 7.8, Passos Ferreira 17.4. I'm going to go all the way down to Sporting is number 13, 14.6. Benfica is actually below at 14.2. So, with that said, how can a club have 18.4 fouls per game and they only have 11 yellow cards? It's amazing. That's all I got to say.
É os padres e as capelas.
O apitorato está de volta, meu.
We'll discuss all that in a couple of weeks.
2.0.
Wait until they when they start dropping points. E depois eu quero ver.
I'm in favor of not having the VAR now.
I'm still in favor of it.
I'm not, because it makes no difference. No Portuguese League, it makes no difference. Might as well not have it.
Mas para o Porto faz 5 decisões a favor, 0 contra.
Claro.
But they were the right calls. So what are you complaining about?
Right call.
Pois, porque mas eu lembro uma semana passada, o ano passado, quando não eram os right calls, o VAR variava-se. Mas isso também era os VAR. Era. Foi. Então
no Aves, ou como é que foi?
Então não foi, o Benfica foi.
Como aqui no podcast há bocadinho.
Foi como há bocado, também o VAR variou-se para os teus lados também. É o que acontece lá na cidade.
O VAR é com aquelas linhas lá da BTV. A BTV tem essas linhas muito estranhas. I remember that one year that you guys opened up against Braga and it was called offside, but it really wasn't offside. It was
bicho offside há 2 semanas atrás contra o Rio Ave, que eles nos chamaram e que o jogador estava muito atrás da linha, e isso não foi a BTV, até foi a RTP.
I don't. It was the Benfica
Rio Ave, o golo na segunda parte, que chamaram o jogador fora de jogo e o jogador não estava fora de jogo, estava quase um pé em jogo. Isso também se calhar foi as linhas cruzadas da BTB que fez o coisa.
O VAR em Portugal não funciona. São uma cambada de conas, não percebe nada daquela merda. Nem câmara lenta, they can do the proper call. Come on. Aqueles gajos estão lá no troco a beber, de certeza absoluta, apanhavam uma babadeira do caralho. Então aquilo sai linhas tortas e o caralho, bem forte.
É o Francisco J. Marques e o Pinto da Costa que estão no bar.
Se calhar é o Gabriel.
O Rui Pinto anda lá da prisão, hacking the VAR.
Vocês não gostam nada do Rui Pinto, eu sei porquê.
O presidente finalmente disse umas coisas de jeito estas semanas, estas últimas 2 semanas. Um bandido será sempre um bandido.
Será sempre bandido.
Mas agora vai ter que pagar. Por essas palavras.
E quantos processos é que tem o Pinto da Costa? Está calado. Não dá nada. Eles têm.
Vamos a seguir.
2, 3, 4.
Hour 33.
Vamos a seguir, eu sei que o Bruno está à rasca, ele quer falar brevemente sobre os 116 milhões negativos do Futebol Clube passado.
You already explained it on that other page. I don't have to.
Mas eu vou-te mandar o build de ser teu advogado.
Atenção que o Bruno aí também ele sabe que o Porto, lá os dirigentes estão a comer o clube. Já não é.
Mas isso não tem nada a ver, Steph, com os dirigentes. We already know that 116 million, none of it has anything to do with Champions League money, league money, what do you call it? Sales of players, nothing. We have not had fans in stadiums since March. Wait till yours come out. You can't even pay a coach. You already added 4 more million euros to the price tag for the coach that you can't even pay.
You talking about o Amorim? O Amorim já pagaram primeira tranche. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm glad you believe everything you read on the news. That's good. That's excellent. Don't even go to church because, the news that they say, everything they say, it's verdade. É verdade. O que é que te diga? É verdade. You think you justify the 160 million loss of Porto because of the fans? Tu sabes o que acabaste de dizer aqui, gente? Acabaste de dizer que não percebes nada do marketing porque os
fans
não dinheiro.
No, those 160 million euros they're meaningless because it's
fans on the stadium. The fans, how much you think Porto and I wouldn't call Sporting and Benfica, they make from fans on the stadium the whole season?
They make about 1.5 to 2 million a game.
That's it. It's nothing much. We're talking about 160 million. One now, 1.5.
No, but Steph, the 160 million, it's not 160 million. So the fiscal year for soccer, it's from July 1st to June 30th.
Right.
So this season, the fiscal year still ended June 30th. So all these contas are from until June 30th of the year. All the sales from the teams took place in the month of August. So Porto did 120, 130 million in sales. If those sales would have been applied to the contas from, if the sales had been concluded prior to June 30th, then there wouldn't be $160 million loss. There were €1 million loss. It would have washed. So now next year, and this is going to be the same thing for Porto, Benfica, Sporting, whoever. Não é jogadas dele, não é jogadas dele, foi because of the COVID-19. The season went longer than it should.
Mas é o que eles fazem, os contabilistas desses clubes grandes. That's why, I don't really pay attention to those numbers. When you mentioned that, to me, it was like insignificant. It was funny, that's all. But like he said, next week it could be Sporting saying, "Hey, perderam 55 milhões e Benfica também."
We all are going to do that because all the sales are going to be applied into next year's contas.
Yeah.
So next year you're gonna all these sales that the teams made are going to be carried on for next year's contas. Whatever sales are made before June 30th of 2021 are going to be accounted in those contas. The Champions League money is going to be accounted in those contas. So Porto, and I was telling a friend of mine, and he's like, "Oh, that's impossible." Porto next year has to show that they made over 200 million. If they don't show that they made 200 million, that they have a surplus of 200 million, then something's wrong. Then something is wrong, unless they don't sell any players, whatever. So, they did 120, 130 million in sales. They bought a few players too. So there's probably a net positive of 90 or 80 million. So 90, 80 million, you're going to get another 50 or 60 million from the Champions League. That's going to be 140. You sell a couple other players, there's your 200 million. So
yeah, but George, we're talking about, we have not had a fan in the stadium since March that brings revenue. But it's not only
that was a $30 million loss. That's what the question said. That Porto lost 30 million.
But not only that, it's there's not a lot of people buying at the store. There's not a lot of people visiting at the museum because the museum, I think, it generates a couple of million throughout the season. Obviously jersey sales or merchandise that's huge. So in terms of marketing, like Steph was talking about, yeah, we suffered a lot because a lot of people are not going to the stores. They're not going to the stadium. How are you supposed to make money when people are not buying stuff?
They buy online, but less. Still less, yes. They buy more online, but still less. Because
everyone is going to have a loss. I can't imagine anyone that's going to have a gain during a pandemic.
The small teams will because they accustomed not having fans in the fucking stadium. O Belenenses, a última vez teve 600 fans. When was it?
Quando o Porto foi lá?
Pois. Quando vai lá, Sporting 20 mil. Vai lá, Benfica 30 mil.
Não.
Look, but
é que meteu mais gente no Belenenses.
Bom,
because
it's now in 40 minutes, guys.
Go ahead, you go. Go ahead, Bruno. What's next?
Predictions.
Elections?
O predictions.
Já está tudo feito. Senão vamos continuar aqui a falar do Salazar e do Prendel e aquele gajo que tomou conta de sei de quem e deu um estádio de garrafa para Porto e eu só queria uma garrafa de vinho de Porto. Mais nada.
All right. Tomorrow we open up with Paços Ferreira Porto. I'll say Porto wins 1-0. George.
O Paços Ferreira é o petite do Benfica, portanto, yes, I'll list 1-0.
É o Cupeta.
Não, é o Paços Ferreira que deixou o Porto ganhar um título com um penalti fora da grande área e que resultou em cartão vermelho e que depois no ano a seguir na UEFA o Porto emprestou o estádio das Jantas para o Paços Ferreira jogar lá. Lembras-te ou não te lembras? Olha, isto aqui o computador aqui não tem power outages aqui. O computador aqui não tem power outages.
You know what I remember, George? É o gol do Kelvin. Vocês tinham tudo na mão e perderam. Tinham tudo na mão e perderam.
Ok.
Tu gostas de picar, mas depois mudas de tópico quando a conversa não te cheira. Quando a conversa não te cheira, faz assim um 360 assim, olha, really quick.
360. 360 é assim. O Kelvin marcou um golo e ficaste com um malão assim, pá. Estavas maluco. Esse boné. And your earphones are not, they're not, they couldn't hold the malão que tinhas nesse dia.
E depois, o que é que aconteceu depois?
Ficou sem gelo, pá.
E o que é que aconteceu depois dos próximos 5 anos? O que é que passou depois?
Eu vou perguntar
não tem engasgo.
Eu vou mandar um e-mail ao Rui Pinto agora. Espera aí.
Eu vou fazer o Google das escutas do Pitorado. Espera aí.
Aquela bancada de lá nova do Paços Ferreira não foi chamada bancada Zé Mota? Lembras-te daquele Mota que tu dizias que era do Benfica e coisa? Esse foi o que deu o cartão vermelho ao jogador do Paços Ferreira e marcou o penalti fora da grande área.
Já vai 1 minuto e 45, 1 hora e 45 minutos. Bom, eu
Aqui não há power outage. Aqui não há power outage.
Eu dou-te o power outage. Tu também tens muita coisa, vá.
1-1. Next.
4-1?
Sim.
Ok. Belenenses Farense. That will be Saturday. Rio Ave Moreirense. Marítimo Nacional. Derby da Madeira. Portimonense Santa Clara. Gil Vicente Guimarães. Sporting Tondela. Steph, what do you got?
You said Gil Vicente Guimarães. That's another derby.
Yes, do Minho.
São os dois do Minho. Este ano o Minho tem lá 3 equipas.
Mais?
O Sporting Tondela. O Sporting ganha em casa. Eu digo 3-0.
3-0. George?
Em casa.
Sporting Tondela? 2-0.
I'll say 2-1. 2-1. Braga Famalicão, which is another Minho derby, because Famalicão fica no Minho.
Fica no meio.
Depois Então, Jorge, como é que é? Boa Vista, Benfica. Agora, são amigos ou não?
No Bessa, não é? No Bessa?
É no Bessa.
Então a história é assim: o Benfica sai de Lisboa, vai na autoestrada, chega ali para os lados do Porto, começa a levar umas pedradas no autocarro, só que depois vai para o hotel, lá costuma ir, vai lá os super cagões, lá por lá os firecrackers a noite inteira, a tentar estragar a noite do Benfica. O Benfica vai para o estádio do Bessa, o cabeleira começa a gritar por todos os lados e ganhamos já mesmo a 2-0. E depois saímos do estádio, levamos mais outras pedradas e tal, mas ficamos já mesmo em primeiro com 18 pontos e o Porto, passamos para o estádio do Dragão, damos lá uma mijadela e depois ainda vamos embora para Lisboa.
Vamos lá, mas essa coisa das pedradas foi no Name Boys.
Não, quando não. Eles copiaram do Porto, cada vez que vai no Porto e go under an underpass, levas logo cada pedradas logo.
Vocês recebem pedradas a chegar ao Porto e a chegar a Lisboa.
Primeiro começaram com as bolas do golfe. As bolas do golfe já não chegavam, eles não foram às lições do Tiger Woods, agora começaram a tirar as pedras.
Jorge, quando estão do outro carro, quantos adeptos do Sporting vão atropelar pelo caminho?
Não sei. Não sei nada disso. Não. Isso de atropelar adeptos foram vocês que fizeram em Braga, não te esqueças.
Não é isso.
Já aprovaram isso?
Ei, vamos brincar com isso. Que isso foi.
Não te esqueças.
Já aprovaram isso ou não?
Não.
Mas isso é a tua palavra favorita aí do Porto. Já aprovaram? Já aprovaram? Tem vídeo, tem áudio, mas já aprovaram?
No, because that's one word against the other, because there was nobody, and no one ever got arrested.
Okay, vá. What's the next one?
Pois, já não te interessa.
Não vale a pena. Para isso eu vou para o muro das lástimas em Jerusalém e começo lá a bater a cabeça, porque falar contigo é a mesma coisa.
The thing that upsets me about that, Marco Ficini being killed by that stupid ass human being. It doesn't matter that he's Benfiquista. It matters that he committed a crime. He should have been arrested. He should have been sentenced. I don't know why Benfica defended him. They should have said, "Hey, fizeste mal, pagas tu, que o clube não tem nada a ver com isso." I have no clue why. And we'll never know, I don't think.
I agree.
O Zé Pina é o gajo do matador que matou o Marco Ficini.
Pois. Ok.
4 vezes.
Boa Vista, Benfica, Steph, como é que é?
Para frente. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it because it's something that someone was killed.
Boa Vista, Benfica.
Boa Vista, Benfica. Estás-me a perguntar a mim?
Sim.
Não, pergunta ao Jorge primeiro.
Eu já disse. Já te dei a história, já te contei a novela toda, 2-0, acaba, levamos pedradas 2 vezes e é só.
2-0? 2-0. Epá, eu também vou para aí, sabes porquê? Que o Boa Vista parece que só se aguenta 45 minutos na segunda parte, estão todos arrebentados. Deve-se a oficina para a Boa Vista e aconteceu este fim de semana. Estavam a ganhar 2-0 e deixaram-se empatar 2-2. Eles só sabem 45 minutos. Compraram uma equipa de 45 minutos. They got to change the rules for Boa Vista and just have a game of 45 divided by 2, 22.5 each half. Porque eles não se aguentam. Vão perder, de certeza absoluta, contra o Benfica. De certeza. Para aí uns 4-0.
Se tivesse lá o Javi Garcia, eu dizia que era 6, que ele marcava 4 na própria baliza.
Não, porque cometia pelo menos 4 penaltis.
Está todo roxo.
Agora, uma coisa certa, Steph, não te esqueças do que o Jorge disse, que o Boa Vista na segunda parte contra o Porto não teve pernas, como tu falaste, mas ele disse que abriram as pernas. Agora quero ver quando se o Boa Vista perder mais de 3 para cima, na segunda parte depois quero ver.
Quem viu a progressão do Boa Vista, they see that they only play the first half and the second half, they totally disappear. Last game was the same thing. They had a phenomenal first half, winning 2-0, and then they end up tying the game.
All you got to do is shut down that guy, Angel Gomes, and that's it. They're done. All right.
Poor transfer window for them. Really important.
No, well, they've signed a lot of names. I warned you guys. Everyone was complaining. Oh, they're going to be back to UEFA. They're not.
Depois dos 5-0 do Porto, o Porto vai emprestar 4 ou 5 jogadores para eles ficarem na primeira divisão.
Seis, é com vocês. É assim, emprestar só 3, mas é metade da equipa.
Pois.
É assim,
Pois.
Não, já sabemos a jogada.
Right.
Next week, falamos mais. Hopefully, guys, you like the show. And we'll talk tomorrow. We'll talk next week.
Não te esqueças do Orelhas, 66%, 62%.
Getting the falar disso. Well, I'll say this much, George. The percentage was a lot closer than what I was expecting.
What do you mean?
Yeah, and when you take in consideration that all the old timers that he gets, which are the 50 votes, compared to all the young guys that Noronha gets, you're probably talking about out of 5 Benfiquistas, you're talking about 2 or 3 that are against him. So, but listen, the way the statutes are drawn up, and the way he has the old timers votes, it's almost impossible to get him out of there. So
it does. There's a couple good things I have to actually give credit to Benfica, which they do it better than Sporting and Porto. In these elections, they had, I think, 27 casas or 28 casas onde podiam votar across the nation.
Mm-hmm.
And also you could vote here in America. You would get
electronic.
So and I hope this paves the way for Sporting and Porto to also do the same thing, because being a socio and you pay your and you can even vote, it's ridiculous. So
Steph, well, you said the Casos do Benfica had all these votes, correct?
27 or 28, yeah. Different.
And out of all those Casos do Benfica, how many votes actually were counted?
Eletrônico.
They're all electronics. They're all electronic.
Eletrônico. So the thing is, and I gotta give kudos to the Luis Vieira administration, because they're the ones who imposed that. But a lot of my friends here in America, they voted for Noronha.
George is shaking his head. Why are you shaking your head, George?
Because it wasn't him that implements it. It's the president of the MISA that implements it. So it's different. Nope. Totally independent.
But the one thing I have to question, George, is Rui Gosmas da Silva came out and he was questioning who was taking the votes, the written votes, who's watching them, who's transporting them, who's handling the security on.
Listen. Rui Gomes da Silva is another Dias da Cunha. No, not Dias da Cunha, right? The attorney.
Okay.
It's another Dias da Cunha for Sporting. These are these people that want to be president of the clubs at any cost, and they don't understand that they run 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Gomes da Silva got 1% of votes. He should just tuck his tail between his legs and move on, because obviously his message, the way maybe the message is the right message, but the way he communicates it, the way that message comes across, the way he speaks about it, it's not going anywhere. So just tuck your tail in between your legs and just move on.
He's done. O Noronha ainda tem uma palavra a dizer in the 4 years from now, but
he says he's not running anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
O Noronha, that it was a one-time thing.
I don't agree with that, because he has a lot of backing.
I could see it, like o Benedito do Sporting também, disse o mesmo.
I think the next president is going to be Rui da Costa in a landslide.
No, because Aurelio is going to run again.
No, he's not.
You watch.
He's going to be 75 years old.
You watch.
And he's going to be 75. He's going to be 75 years old, and in 4 years, all the processes that he has, some of them are going to come due in one way or another. So he says, if he's found guilty of one, he's going to leave on his own. So let's see what happens.
But the thing is about these elections, besides Luis Vieira winning, which we all knew about that. I mean, no one had any doubts that he was going to win. Yeah. Even my little daughter, she knew, hey, he's going to win. But I don't like the statutes to Benfica. It's the same as Sporting. A socio that's been at Benfica for 20 years, his vote is 20 votes or more. I don't like that. And I'm talking about Sporting because we have the same statutes, the same fucking rule. And não vote mais nada. The only statute you should have is you have to be associated at least for a couple of years before you can vote, or at least for a whole year, so you wouldn't have people signing at the last minute just to vote.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then give regalias aos sócios que estão lá há mais tempo, como desconto numa camisola ou equipamento. Estás lá há 20 anos, tens desconto em 30% na t-shirt, não sei mais quê. But these 20 votes, like George said, está lá o avô Cantigas e vota por Luís
50 votes. 50 votes.
É muito, meu. That's a lot of votes.
Look, some takeaways from the election. Look, it's the biggest outpouring of votes in a Benfica election with I think it was 40,000 votes. Very well organized. In the middle of a pandemic. Keeping all the safety guidelines. Doesn't look like there was any sorts of violence or anything like that. Which in this election, which was there was a lot of stuff in state in the balance here. So no matter what the results were, and like Steph said, I always thought that he was going to win. I hope that somehow we can he's not the person that I think his time is done at Benfica, but the votes are the votes. That's why we're in a democratic state, and that's what the elections are for. And people have voted him in. I just hope that him and Noronha and even Rui Silva, whatever, they can come together, because I tell you one thing, there was a lot of good ideas in the Noronha plan. Rui Gomes da Silva, he has a couple of things there also that can be taken away and put into place if Vieira decides to do so. But now going forward, listen, it is what it is. It's another 4 years, and we got to make the best of it.
It's hard to not be like a president that's won so much for the club lately, just like Pinto Costa. I mean, Bruno said that it's time for him to go, and I agree with him. But it's impossible to kick him out. Portistas is mal agradecido, os títulos que ele já ganhou pelo clube. Same thing is applied to Luís Filipe Vieira. Now my Sporting is different, because each president that goes to my club, they never win shit. So it's easy to be like somebody else.
Listen, I always say we're fans of clubs, and I'm sure that we all want to win and we all want to celebrate titles and so on. My thing, right, and what I say to people that I talk to, and it's nothing personal, it's just what it is, right? If we're happy with winning titles, and at the same time we're happy with the news that is coming out of how we were winning the titles and what was involved in, and if I'm a Benfiquista and I'm happy with that, then there's no way that I can complain about Porto and the way they've won the titles that they've won. So it would make me a Portista if I didn't question things that are coming out in the news and processes that are being opened and so on. So it has nothing to do again with my Benfiquismo, because I love my club. I wouldn't I've traveled outside the country for 2 days to go watch an international game, which a lot of Benfiquistas, they don't do that. They watch it in their sofa, or they go watch it in a bar. So who are those people to question my Benfiquismo, right? Just because I don't agree with something that we have different ideas about values and about how things should be, doesn't make me less of a Benfiquista than the next person. So and it doesn't mean that I'm ingrato for what Luís Filipe Vieira did. But again, and I've said it in the other conversations, and I'll say it now. Obra é quem a faz e quem a paga. Obra por obra. To kick the can down the street for somebody else to pay for it, that's not an obra. That's going to a bank, asking for loans, building a building, and then saying, listen, I spent 20 years here. The next person that comes along, they'll pay the bill. That to me doesn't make you better than anybody else because you're able to build a couple of buildings. We won titles, yes, we won titles, but the news of how we won those titles is not for all the Benfiquistas that are happy. I would or that are saying, oh, I don't care about that. O que me interessa a mim é ganhar títulos. I recommend that they go to watch one of the last galas, the Benfica galas, and they hear the Mari Wilson speech about the values of Benfica, and our values are our values, and we should not only want to win, but want to win in a way that we're not questioned.
All right, guys. We're almost at 2 hours. So see you all next week. Ciao, Laura.
Adios, Maria.
Adios, bacalhau.
Ciao.